I do.
Oh, well then I'll turn it back
I
on.
like it, so I can see what the screen looks like. I'm talking. I'm not looking down here. I'm looking at there.
Hey everybody, let me get camera straightened out here. We're going live here. I think we've started. Let us know if you can hear us okay in the chat, and we'll get going here. Actually, need to change one little thing here. Well, it's fun. It's on my laptop camera, not on my regular camera, so that's okay though. I'm here. This is Tucker Hodgson with the board. I'm here with Dave Edwards and David Pendergast, also from our board. Grant Hodgson and Janie Olson are online with us. They're not here in person. We're here in my Lathan office. But we do have some key announcements for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see what we're talking about here. Okay, as I bring that up, let me make sure that everybody can see that on the chat. David, can you manage the chat and see if they can see the slideshow okay? How does it look online?
Nobody say anything.
Everybody says it's a black screen. Is it a black screen, everybody, or can you see the chat okay? Or can you see the
PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint okay? Okay, now it looks like it's on, so that's good. Okay. Dave, go ahead and take it away. I'm going to throw you on here on the camera, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we can see on the camera. Do you want to try and get that going?
Oh, no, we just unplugged your data.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yep.
That's not ideal.
Make sure we're back on.
It hasn't left my screen
We
yet.
seem to fight that battle.
We do seem to fight that battle a little bit.
First of all, tonight is a big night for us. But again, if we just confirm from somebody in chat that we're live and it's broadcasting for us. Tonight is a really big night for us.
Sorry, folks. Looks good still. Thanks, everybody. We'll keep going.
Thanks, Judy. Appreciate that. So we have some major announcements to make. A lot of this is to start off with will be some thank yous, but some of the goals that we set out clear back in July of 24 when we sat down and talked and said this is the path and asked for your support to move forward on a path to eventually sell the resort and be able to move forward, get as much financial benefit as we could for the owners, maximize the outcomes for our owners. We've been able to achieve those things in a couple of ways. We've maintained the financial strength of the resort, and we've been able to consistently cut costs by getting rid of our management company, taking on the management tasks ourselves as a board, even to some point trading some of our equipment for work being done on the resort to try to minimize that screen and picture back in there. So I can see what the screen's seeing.
Yeah.
Thanks. And one of our biggest goals that we're pleased to announce tonight is we've been able to prevent further assessments. That we've achieved all of these goals, and it's culminated tonight in some announcements about what our next phases are, where we're going to go, and what we've accomplished in detail. So, we were able to sell the Big Dig property. It's been sold to Powder Mountain. The documents were signed on October 31st, and we were successful in that process. The funds from that sale have been wired to our account. They were wired to us on November 2nd. So as we talk about that, we also would remember that there were two pieces of property, the resort and the Big Dig properties that we were selling. I want to take just a minute of your time to go back into the history of that property on the Big Dig. If you remember back in 2006, the board at that time, I believe it was Grant Snow was the president of the board at that time. We were approached because for a development that was to occur on that property, and the right to construct on that property, even though we owned the property, the right to build on it had been sold, and the developer came and said, we are going to move forward with that. During that process, there were certain key elements and payments that were to be made to the association, to our homeowners association, including refacing our buildings, helping us with roads, different things. At that time, even in 2006 or 7, I think the dollar amount was over $1 million in improvements that were being done to have a resort that all the faces of our buildings matched the new construction for 30 units out there. But eventually all of that defaulted. And when that happened, there were 2 people left holding the bag, other than the lenders that were into it, millions and millions of dollars. But that was Big D Construction, who were owed a significant amount of money when the developer basically bankrupted or just defaulted on the project, and Powder Mountain, our homeowners association. As that process, we went through legal processes trying to restore the property back to either our ownership. At the same time, Big D Construction had a lien on the property for the amounts they were owed. Ultimately, the property was sold at tax sale, and we went to the tax sale with a limited amount of money to try and purchase the property, and sat there next to Big D Construction, who also had an interest in the property and could have easily outbid us for what we had available to do it. But the owner of Big D Construction at that time, or the CEO at that time, Rob Moore, sat and listened to what had happened to us and talked with us, and he was willing to stick with us as an association. And to quote him at that time, he said, the people that own up at Powder Ridge, they're my neighbors. I'm from the Ogden Valley, and I know a lot of your owners, and I'm willing to stick it out with you, and let's get this property back and then try and market it and sell it. We, at that point, just as that's occurring, we're in the downturn of 2008, and the market went down. It was difficult to sell the property. I've never been called the kind of names I was called after we put $169,000 into the tax sale. I worked for 30 plus years as a police officer and was never called the names I was by owners who were so upset with us for spending the money to retain half ownership of that property in a corporation and try and pursue it. It was definitely a stressful time. I want to express my appreciation to the owners that understood that this was an investment, that we were passionate about it. And I want to also express my appreciation to the board members who supported us in going forward with that. We were able to successfully sell this piece of property at its appraised value to Powder Mountain. The funds were divided, making Big D whole on the money they were owed, and then taking the funds that we expended for some legal fees and different things that we had expended, and paying each entity for what we were owed at that point, and then dividing the proceeds. The reason this is key for us, this particular piece of property, is the 2 properties are sold together, they're tied together, but our goal here in this time frame that we had from essentially when we knew things were definitely going bad was in July of 2024 to now, was that if we could get the proceeds from this sale in our hands, it would allow us to move forward with the processes that have to occur to complete the sale of the resort, meaning to clear all of the titles from faulty title work over the years of the association being in play, with 1,664 units, 1,664 deeds, and the number of foreclosures that have to occur from owners that did not pay and that owe us money, for us to foreclose and get the deeds back for the properties. But we're confident now with the monies that we have in hand that we should be able to complete the processes to clear the titles on the resort and be able to sell it. So our second announcement is that we have also signed a contract to sell Powder Ridge Village. We signed this contract with Powder Mountain, but it's not scheduled to close until April of 2028. And during that time frame, which is, if not that we're counting, but is 29 months and 10 days, that we not that we're hurried or pressured about that, we have 29 months and 10 days to provide clear title to the buyer in the closing processes. Uh, that 30 months is not a lot of time for the amount of work that has to be done to make that occur. But again, to kind of recap, the two properties are tied together and were being sold and marketed as one. We reached a sales agreement for the resort to close in 2028, and we have completed and closed on the big dig and received our portion of the proceeds. Both properties were sold at the appraised value from the appraisal that we commissioned. Their sales documents were signed and completed on Halloween. Hopefully that's I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are truly excited to tell you tonight that the future of the resort, and the timing of this and being able to get the funds into the resort, we had very little money left in the bank. This was a timely sale for us that puts money in the bank and keeps the resort moving forward. There are obviously some people who will have questions about any of this, can reach out to any of the board, or email us, post your questions that you might have in chat, and we'll try to answer them about the processes. That really brings us to what's next. Where do we go from here? What are we working on right now? Because we literally, before this sale was even closed, we shifted, as a board, our focus to completing the deed back processes with all the owners that are current owners, and completing your deed backs to the association, where they're held as in equity for you, so we can close on this sale as quickly as possible. The latest will be the April of 28. If we can complete all the title work prior to that, we will close early with Powder Mountain. But we also have the more difficult processes of foreclosing on all the delinquent intervals, meaning everybody that owes us money and has the title to the resort. If they don't provide us the title, we're going to have to foreclose on them. That could run us into the millions of dollars to complete that process. We actually have bids and have bid this out with firms that do the foreclosures, law firms that do this work. And the fact that it requires a judicial foreclosure in Utah. This isn't numbers that we're pulling out and just throwing out numbers. This is work that we're prepared to do. And we are actually prepared and moving forward with those foreclosures today. And we have been moving forward with that process and preparing for it, but we did not have the money to begin the foreclosures. What we've been doing in the background is doing the title work and preparing and determining who we have to foreclose upon, trying to ask owners to come current to get their any debt that they have to us paid so they can participate in the sale, or to simply deed their property back to us so we can close. So right now, those are the three focuses we have, and we need your help. If you are one of the owners that's current and you haven't completed the paperwork packet that we've sent you, perhaps haven't received it, please contact us immediately at the Powder Ridge Deeds at gmail.com. Contact us. We'll reach out to you with paperwork. We'll provide it to you. We'll do whatever we need to do to get it in front of a notary, get it signed, and get it into our hands so that we can be prepared to move forward and start to close down some of the task work that has to be completed over these next couple of years. And I think the big part of that is the foreclosures and the expense there. We have a plan to try to minimize that expense and to keep as much money in the hands of the owners when we complete the sale processes. That's the money that's divided out to everyone every interval when everything's done. That plan is to minimize having to pay law firms, $8,000 to $10,000 or potentially more to complete the foreclosure process. So we're asking for you as owners to support us in a couple of ways. We need some of the owners to assist us in trying to locate by internet sleuthing and looking up records and those types of things, and working with Dave Pendergast on our board to work on a team with him to try to locate phone numbers, addresses, so that we can reach out to these owners who we have no interest in foreclosing. It's expensive, everything else. But remember, a lot of these people are our friends and even family members that are on this list of foreclosures that, for whatever reason, they've fallen behind or haven't been able to pay assessments or over the years. We'd like to avoid the court processes because ultimately it ends up with us coming after them for all the fees that we pay, et cetera. We can simply contact them, ask them to sign a deed back to us in lieu of foreclosure, and that will save us all that money and time and move things forward. Any of you that are listening on this meeting tonight that have basic internet and computer skills that could assist us on that team, again, please reach out to us, contact us so that we can engage you. There will be a weekly meeting where we'll talk about the names and what work's been done. That'll be handled and run by David Pendergast on our board. And at that meeting, we'll discuss tools and give you and work on that contact information. But if you want to join that team, please contact us at powderridgevillageut@gmail.com. That's the general email that we're using for any correspondence right now. But please contact us and join in this process with us to try and help us save and complete these tasks as quickly as possible. Remember, as soon as we can close, that's when money will flow back to each of us as owners with whatever money's remaining in that kitty of that pool of money. That money, when we're foreclosing, again, when we're talking about it being, our estimate right now is about 1.9 million to complete that process.
Yep.
If we have to pay for all of it through a law firm. And the last process part of that on the foreclosures is after we've located and found those names, it will be one of the members of the board. Right now, it will be me. I'm assigned that task to, along with Grant Hodgson, to make contact with individual owners and request them to complete their deed backs in lieu of foreclosure, work with them, explain our situation to them directly from, again, a board member, and see if we can complete that process without incurring the expenses. The last part comes back to completing the title clearance, and that's the work that Tucker Hodgson from our board is doing in concert with Backman Title. Tucker, do you mind going back on our slide just a bit to our wins?
Yeah, you betcha.
I sort of jumped past some thank yous that I need to make sure that I get out there. I started to talk to you about Rob Moore and him basically being willing and him knowing that he wanted to work with the owners and try and help the homeowners who felt swindled from when the resort failed. But there are others that I want to thank in achieving these phase one goals. And I'm sorry I skipped over that as we were kind of skipping slides here, but Rob Moore simply has been the best partner to work with through this whole process, because each month there were fees for taxes, fees associated while we waited to complete the sale over the years, fees for water, when Powder Mountain Water and Sewer renewed their plans, long-term plans. They began assessing us standby fees for the water there that were very expensive each month. We shared those costs with Big D at Rob Moore's direction. And as the resort faltered in July of 24, we found it difficult to pay our portion of that. We approached Rob, talked to him about that we needed to really ramp up everything we could do to pursue the sale, and he was right with us, knowing that if we could have potentially waited some years to sell the property, it would have benefited him greatly, meaning the prices are going up. And as the build out on the mountain happens, the property would have become more valuable. And he was willing to say, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it now. I'll be with you because we've been partners. And when I commit to being a partner, it's basically a promise. He's just been that great a partner. As we came into July and didn't have money, and we were utilizing the money from the special assessment to make our bills and try and stretch that money out until today when we could get more money in from the sale, Rob Moore's company paid those assessments without us participating in it, and paid those assessments each month for the water and those standby fees to allow us to have some operating capital and some freedom to to move forward without that being a constant threat to us. All those were repaid, and obviously as we closed the sale and we repaid those things. But I just can't stress to you enough, as a group of owners, to have this business owner for this major company that's a national company with big offices in 46 states, who is just most down to earth, honest, true friend to this association that you could ever deal with. We could never have completed this. We could never have hung onto the property and been able to get to this point without Rob Moore and Big D and their corporate collaboration with us as a group. What a great neighbor to have. Like I said, that was kind of a lengthy explanation, but I think it's important to recognize that we didn't get here on our own. Some of the other pieces of this, as I talk about that, getting to this point in the process, I want to throw out huge appreciation to Tucker Hodgson, who's on our board. He's sitting here. Not the best looking guy, but
That's true.
But
That's true.
what you're seeing now, in the time that we were able to pull information together on the titles, on the status of where we were, as far as being able to foreclose or complete a sale, being able to pull all that information together, was nights and weekends for essentially nearly a year for Tucker and Blackman Title and that the company and the corporate work that's been done there, to be able to present a reasonable sales agreement to a buyer that said, here's where we are, here's what we'll need. And you have to then recognize the amount of work that goes into checking 1,664 deeds to know exactly what's needed on each one to perfect the title so that we can sell it. Tucker, thank you so much for that work. It's been a daily grind for a long time to come up with that. And thank you to Blackman Title for supporting us and working with us. And we are now fully paid and current with everything we owe in those processes. But during that process, Blackman Title also allowed us to make payments and work towards paying those to also keep working capital, operating capital in our bank accounts. But again, without these partnerships, that would have been very difficult for us, or we would have had to issue an assessment. And finally, I would like to talk a little bit about the assistance from all of the board members, meaning our advisory chairman, Kathy Coco. Kathy is amazing and has just worked and worked and worked, initially trying to see if there was any way we could keep the resort open, along with a group of owners, and then working to keep the correspondence flowing, keep the website updated. The other board members, we have had countless meetings, countless trips to the resort. All of the board members that are David, Grant, Janie, they've just been amazing and supportive. That has been a lot of late night meetings with attorneys through this process. Going into 10, 11 o'clock at night with board meetings as we were reading documents and really making decisions on your behalf. Really appreciate all that work. And as we start to talk more about the resort and the sale of the resort, I would like to talk about some gratitude to the Powder Mountain team. I think their interest in the mountain, their willingness to sit down with us and talk about the circumstances that we found ourselves in when we knew the resort was closing, that we couldn't keep it open, the funds weren't there. They have simply been great to work with. I truly did not know what to expect working with a large corporation, working with the Powder Mountain team to structure a deal. We've been able to work with them through disagreements, through issues, and they were also willing to listen. To their credit, sitting down with that team and having them listen to the fact that for many of us, this was a very painful process to have to close the resort. We talked to them about the fact that our families had grown up there, that for the resort was, for some of us have had kids get engaged there or do a honeymoon at the resort because that's where they wanted to go, because they'd spent their childhood there going skiing and recreating on the resort. And they listened to that, and it meant something to them when we talked about it, because as we met with their team, they love the mountain as well. And we're very, very impressed with how they conducted themselves and appreciative of them. We have 28 more months to work with them as we complete these processes, and they'll be an integral partner with us in communicating with us at least monthly, if not weekly, on the title issues and getting their advice and assistance as we work through this partnership with them for the next 29 months and 10 days to complete these
Not that we're keeping
processes.
track.
But it's worthy of giving them that gratitude for how it was like working with a group of friends. We both have differing goals in this, but we were able to come to an agreement that we believe was very, very beneficial for us as owners at the end of the day. Before we move on, I also need to thank, because it is important that our attorney. We're paying him. I think they're building the Powder Ridge Village wing on their law firm, but I give him a hard time about paying his legal bills. But he has worked with us and worked with our schedule to be at night and weekends with us to meet and go over documents. Jeff Hollingworth has just been a true friend with us. He's been our attorney for at least the 20 plus years that I've been around as first an advisory committee non-board member that attended meetings, and then the years that I've been on the board and working with him certainly as the president. He's made himself available to us when we needed it, when documents needed to be moved quickly. And I don't think if we hadn't had his willingness to, like you say, work weekends and do different things, we probably could not have completed this process in the timely manner that we were able to do so. It takes a team. And finally, the other professional assistance we had in making these decisions and evaluating these deals was Richard Bird. Richard was someone we reached out to immediately when we knew the resort needed to be sold. We told him we didn't have any money, didn't know if we would ever have money, and didn't have anything to pay him, and asked if he'd just answer a few questions for us. We had learned about his reputation as being very much the consummate professional in the area of selling resorts, and he worked with us to complete each piece of this deal. He's been sitting at football games and soccer games with his kids, during meetings on the phone during meetings with us, and trying to take care of both things, because we have to meet at night often to make these things happen. He's been on vacation, and we're on meeting with attorneys and Richard and reviewing documents, as well as making himself available to us on the fly. When we'd get a communication from a potential buyer, or as the deal progressed with Powder Mountain, he's made himself available to us and has been just a very, very good partner to work with. And I wanted to appreciate it. And one of the reasons I mentioned the attorney and our realtor is to have you be aware that the board's decisions were always guided by professionals. And none of us claim to be professional real estate marketers or anything more than just owners representing you. So we've relied heavily on both those two sources to give us input and direct us, and frankly to tell us that's not the way you want to go. You need to reconsider or look at it and go a different direction. We've been very careful to follow that professional guidance as we move through these processes. So as we get there, I'm going to turn this over to Tucker to talk about where we are financially to some extent, what we're facing over the next time, and we'll come back. We have a little good news that we're saving for the end of the time.
Yeah,
When do you want to do some of the questions that are online?
let's get through this, and then we'll do the questions online, because some of the questions will get answered through our presentation a little bit. Just so people know, our resort is debt free. Obviously, we have ongoing costs like taxes and paying for propane and things like that, but we have no debt right now. We've had no debt, and these two things are really what has allowed us to have a good outcome or potential outcome for our owners. First, in being able to sell the Big Dig as an asset. Without that, I don't know if we would have been able to wind down our resort. And the second is the work of our board. And I've only been on here for 2 years, but to keep us debt free, it's a huge thing. If for those of you who are wondering, economics don't allow us to reopen the resort. The resort, just to run it in the wintertime, those costs are astronomical. It would eat into the portion of equity for our owners, and We just couldn't find a way to do that. As much as we'd all like to go up there and stay our last week, I don't think it's just not possible. Our ongoing liabilities, like we talked about, here's just a list of the basic ones. We still have to do snow removal. We still have ongoing utility and sewer costs. Obviously, we have to keep the property insured. One thing that you haven't heard about that Dave would never say is we're also going up to the resort multiple times during the week to inspect it, to make sure that nothing has happened, to make sure we don't have squatters. And your association president and Janie and David have been to the resort multiple times this year, especially our president, Dave Edwards. We have a few key announcements. Dave, should we move on to our
The good news.
the good news? Is everybody ready for the good news?
Before we get too deep in there, let me talk about how this came to be. I've mentioned that if you want to go to that slide, we can.
The next slide?
Yeah.
That one. Okay.
As I mentioned to you, sitting down with a large corporation like Powder Mountain and having them actually listen to what your concerns were as boards. Let's talk about our families and our attachment to the resort. They paid us, or have agreed to pay us, full appraisal price. Just pay us exactly what we appraised the resort's value at through our professional appraiser. They've agreed to do that for us. And as we talked about what the owners' concerns were and the difficulty that we wouldn't be able to ski and the increase in expenses for trying to find a place to stay, those things, without any really ask from us for anything. We were just having this discussion. The Powder Mountain team came back and said, we can't assist you with the price. The price is what it is with the appraisal, because it doesn't make sense to try to pay you more than what the appraisal is. We feel like that is a fair price for the property. That's what we're willing to do. But we would like to offer you some ski passes for the owners who are current. They've agreed to, in this sale process, give 4 season passes to each current owner. If you own 5 weeks, you still get 1 set of 4 passes. If you own 1 week, you get 4 passes. The reason that they structured that with current owners is because, as we talked about the complexity of this sale, the fact that we had a core group of owners who had paid and were keeping our doors open, and that we had to foreclose on this other group of owners, and that was the mountain that we all have to hurdle. And that was the risk that Powder Mountain faced with structuring a deal like this. They recognized that those core owners, people who had stuck with us, and that were important in keeping the resort open and moving forward. And they moved forward and offered to provide these passes with this deal. Tucker, what was your kitchen math on what the potential is? We have 400 and plus current owners.
We have owners, 400 owners who own some of them own the multiple weeks. But if you take over 400 and you times that by, or multiply that by 1649 for an adult skis and pass, the number surpasses 2 million.
Completely shocked us that they were willing to support like that. And it really does tell you somebody in this process was listening to us as we talked about this and reached out to us with this incredible offer to each owner, each current owner. The Powder Mountain team has been over and looked at the property with multiple times. Powder Mountain team has worked with us through all of this, and for the Powder Mountain to come forward and add a couple of $1 million in value to you as owners is just humbling that they would come forward and do this for us and for each of our families. There are some caveats to that. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I can't thank that team for their support, Reed Hastings for his support and making this kind of a gesture to us. And the liaison that we've worked with on this deal from the Powder Mountain side, primarily been Ann Winston, who's just been amazing to work with and has truly communicated well with us. And I think, again, has listened to you as owners and understands how difficult this was for us to go. And we want to extend our gratitude to that team at Powder Mountain and certainly to Mr. Hastings and to Ann Winston. Let's go on into what the status of these ski passes are. The next slide. So we have 4 passes offered to you as current owners. If you're not current, you're not eligible. The meaning current means if you owe us money, you're not eligible. The passes are for you and your family and your family members. They're not to be sold. If they're found to have been sold, they'll be voided, and there won't. And we appreciate this offer, and we ask each of you as this process moves forward to have some integrity to the process for this generous offer. There are probably a lot of you that have already purchased ski passes for this year, and if that's the case, you'll get some email instructions. Follow those instructions, and you will be able to have a credit to redeem passes for next year. Otherwise, this is a one-time offer for us for this ski season to have each owner receive four passes and be able to ski this year, and again, courtesy completely of this Powder Mountain team. Again, we asked you to be respectful of that process. I'm always afraid that one of the owners will try to sell these on KSL or something and undermine who we are as a group. We ask, please, keep the integrity of the process and welcome this gesture appropriately. The passes are not transferable beyond family members. And again, if any of those things are found to have occurred, they'll just simply void the passes. It's exciting to see a gesture like this, and we're excited that we can ski it. I know I don't know about the rest of you, but for me and my family, this is a huge, huge savings for us to be able to ski this year, and couldn't be more appreciative. Tucker, do you want to talk about the process of how that'll occur for the emails and how that will work?
Yeah, so we'll be emailing each of the owners, and we need to make sure we have your email. If you've already signed your deed for equity agreement through the email, then you know we have it. But for the rest of you who may not have, please send your email address to powderridgevillageuT@gmail.com. Those emails will be going out. We'll also be sending some mail out to owners here in the next day or two to outline this process. We're going to send that list of our owners' emails to Powder Mountain, and then they will be forwarding to you the process about how to get signed up. Most of what they'll need is your week number. They'll need the names of the people getting passes, and then the individual emails of the folks who are getting the passes.
So what we're doing is providing your email address that you've given us to Powder Mountain, and you'll receive instructions from them on how to get your passes and get that process completed. Any questions about that need to come to us. We don't want to overwhelm their team as they're preparing to open the ski resort, and create
we don't want to be a nuisance and a bother when we can answer
them.
the questions ourselves. Yeah.
Anything that you need, please contact us. Feel free to call me, whatever we need to do, because we only have 10 days to make this happen. Meaning we need to complete this process by November 30th, end of day, and be able to move forward with the emails and the passes being allocated out. Again, what a generous offer. We know it's a limited time that we have to make this happen, but we'll do whatever we can to assist you as a board and get these passes in your hands.
So we'll, in answer to one of the questions online, is we'll send the email list to Powder Mountain on November 30th.
Actually, we're sending what we have right now to get it started. So you may, if your email information is current with us and your account status is current with us, we're sending that list to Powder Mountain today. And they'll start to process it as their time permits to get those passes. And that process will involve you giving them names of who the passes are going to be assigned to, and then working through that to receive the passes directly from Powder Mountain.
Let's move on to our next slide here a little bit. Upon receipt of your email, again, they're going to email each individual owner a code for each of the recipients. Okay, the codes will be tied to individual names. And again, if those names don't match up when you go to get your season pass, the pass will be voided. So again, you're going to be voided, and then you're going to be not be able to enjoy the resort at all that for the 26, 27 for next year. So please be honest on this. Family members, that's what it's for. But yeah, that's the next thing. I'm going to go ahead and go through some of our statistics, our wind down statistics specifically. Currently, the association has had 654 weeks in our name already. We have current owners who've paid all their dues and special assessments. That number of weeks is 522, and just since this summer, really from August, we've received about 324 forms back from our current owners. So we're well on our way to having all the deeds and deed for equity forms back. We're over halfway for our total owners.
200 left to go that we need each of you to get your paperwork signed, notarized, and back to us so that we can move forward.
Yep. The other statistic, we have about 488 weeks that are delinquent, and 33 of those weeks have already signed deed in lieu of foreclosure forms. Their debt has been waived, and they will not face any consequences. Again, we don't want to have to foreclose or take anybody to collections about this at all. We would prefer those deed in lieu forms, and that's as much as we can. We're going to be contacting owners who are not current and asking them to deed the property back. That's just better for everybody all around. If you filled out this owner contact form before, we've had this up at a few meetings. That's wonderful, great, thank you. You can go through this and figure this out. Again, we're going to ask you to verify your email, verify your account status at this powderridgevillageut@gmail.com. That's how you can volunteer and also check your account status with us, with everything. Let's see what else we have. For those owners who are delinquent, if you do want to come current, that amount, if you're just behind on the special assessment through the end of November, the amount to come current is $4,054.49. If you do a little bit of mental math for those who are delinquent, that is less than the value of 4 adult ski passes. Okay, but you only have until November 30th to do that. So please contact the association for that. For those owners who own multiple weeks, there's a few of you that are in this situation. We have a few owners who are current on some weeks and delinquent on other weeks. We need to have a decision from you. Are you going to come current on all your weeks, or are you going to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure on the weeks that you have not paid up current? Okay. Once we have that decision, we'll be able to, but you can't skate. You can't do both things at the same time and continue to not pay us or not give us your deed. Okay, we're at a point now where we don't have time to mess around with this. We've got a limited time period to do all these different things.
And while you're on that, Tucker, if someone went to one of the meetings and signed out the paperwork with you, do they need to do anything else?
No. If you went to the meeting, signed your paperwork or one of our meetings, and I know they were a little bit crazy, then you're done. We'll send you the email, and you'll be able to sign up to get your passes and things like this. And just, right now it's a waiting game. You're waiting for the other owners to complete their deed agreements, and you're waiting for us to be able to foreclose on those weeks that are not current. Okay, that's the end of our presentation, but we do want to answer some of the questions that came online. So David, do you have any saved up for us?
I do. I think the first thing I do want to just kind of state and thank everybody is lots of appreciation for Rob Moore, the board, and of course President Dave. So thank you, everyone. There was a question, what was the sales price of the resort?
Sales price of the resort is $8.8 million.
Yep.
Which that money is being held in escrow right now until we can close as soon as the titles are cleared.
Yep. That money is ready to be dispersed as soon as we're ready to have a closing.
Weren't there a couple of other questions about what do we estimate the costs to be to clear the titles?
Yeah, there's an expected cost to clear title work.
I'll let you know right now. This morning, I went to Weber County to the recorder's office and dropped off a box full of deeds from our meetings here in August, September, and October, and the cost just for the recording fees is over $12,000, and that's about a third probably of the deeds that we need. So just in recording costs to the county recorders, we're probably going to be at $35,000 or $40,000 with that. With the fees for each foreclosure, as we've gotten that, I mean, if we had to foreclose on everyone right now and got no deeds back, that we're well over $2 million probably.
With the title work in addition to that, we're probably in the $2.7 million. And please don't forget that we have ongoing fees, meaning ongoing taxes and monthly fees each month as well during this process. So the faster we can do it, the more money that we're able to return to you.
We're super motivated to get this done.
What other questions do you have, David?
A question I can answer this one. 8.8 million includes the big dig. No, the 8.8 million is just for the resort.
The obvious next question is, how much did we recoup from the resort,
or from the big
from the
dig?
sale of the big dig, or what was our portion of the payout from that amount? Our portion of the payout before paying the realtor, any of the fees that we've had, attorney's fees, anything else, our portion of the payout was $3.5 million. So to the people that called me names and said I was an idiot, and that we made a horrible decision as a board to keep that property, invest $169,000 and pay another couple of $100,000 over the time frame, will net over the entire length of this whole process probably in the area of $3.35 million.
Yeah. Keep in mind, folks, were it not for the big D, we would not be able to sell the resort. I mean, that's the bottom line. Also, keep in mind, any money that we don't use from the big D sale in clearing the title and in maintaining the resort, paying our expenses, that money also will be distributed to our owners. Right. So if we have however many thousands of dollars left over at the end of this, that's additional money to go to our owners. Yep.
And we talked about, let's see, how many foreclosures? We were at 488, but we had about 31 deed removes.
Yeah.
So that's down to about
450-ish.
So.
Yep.
The progress of the deed transfers. We talked about that.
One of the big things we should probably say, though, is when we're trying to estimate what these costs are going to be, once we pay everything down, we get current on everything, we'll have approximately $3 million in the bank going into this next 30 months. If we had to foreclose on 488 of those units, that could go as high as $4.8 million at that number just for foreclosures. Now you hopefully understand why we're asking for volunteers and team members to work with us to help us find these owners that we don't have information and can't contact, to get their deeds signed back, because every one of those that we have to go through the judicial foreclosure process, again, it's 488 times 8 to 10,000 or more per interval of those 488. We think we can significantly reduce that. We're already having success in doing so, and at the same time paying our title company that's doing all the title clearance work for all the errors in titles over the last 40 years that the resort's been operating. More than 40, I guess. About 42?
Yeah, around 42 years.
So we had a really important question, I think, that came in from somebody. Can the pass be for next year if you live out of state? Obviously this is coming to them very late in the game.
The only thing I can tell you about that is we did discuss that, and to be able to do this, Powder Mountain needed to do it in this year. For those who had already purchased passes, they were willing to do it and extend that to say, we get it if you've already bought one, and we'll credit you that for next year. But their request was that it be completed in this year.
It's a lot. Sorry.
Yeah.
The best we can do.
Best we can do when they're essentially giving each of us $6,600 worth of passes.
And then the last question that I saw in the chat that I had is, any idea what Powder Mountain will do with the property?
They haven't really given us what their an idea of what their plans are. I don't know that they've specifically hidden the plans from us, but we've been more focused on other things than to have much conversation. We've been more focused on trying to keep the doors open and keep the bills paid and be able
Anything
to
they
complete the
want.
sale. Yeah.
They'll own it. Anything they want.
The one thing I will say about that again, on that process with their team, and we just had their entire team at the resort 2 weeks
Last
ago.
week, 2 weeks ago.
I guess
Yeah.
2 weeks ago now, meeting several of their team there. I was impressed with, we all know how much we love the mountain and how much we love the resort, but I was really impressed in meeting a broader group of their team, how much they love the mountain and how much they feel attached to it as well as their employees of Powder Mountain. It was interesting to listen to them talk about how beautiful the views were out of our units, those types of things, and how much they could see why we loved it and why we loved the resort. They were obviously have deeply care about what the property ends up becoming.
Okay, any more questions from the chat that we need to go over?
If we go under an hour, do we get like a grand prize or something?
I think we should get a ground prize. How many owners will be entitled to split the funds from the sale? That's question just came in.
Everybody that's current.
Everybody that's current, yeah. So if we have current owners right now who've paid all the dues right now, that net equity could be split 522 ways.
The only thing, the caveat that I would again give you is we're estimating what our costs are going to be. Can't hold us to that. We don't. It's an unknown until we actually get there and get it done. We're giving you the napkin math to the best of our ability. We're giving you the dollar amounts that we know because they're contracted dollar amounts. But we really don't know what the expenses will be between day one and day end for these processes. We're guessing, and hoping that $3 million that we have out that we've been able to take from the sale of the Big Dig will cover all of those costs, and then we'll be able to divide the money, the available funds at the end among the owners.
Yeah, one thing that we should know, or we should point out, is every deed in lieu that we receive is $8,000 to $10,000 more for all of our owners. So it's a
to be divided
divided at the end. Yep.
We just got a question in. If we assign one of the passes to a family member that can't make it, can we change the name on the pass?
No, it's kind of final jeopardy on that, folks.
It's done.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Our commitments only.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Can we come back once more and give the addresses, Tucker, for people who want to help us with avoiding the costs of these delinquent owners and
Yeah, you betcha. Let me
foreclosures?
back up to that.
Powder Ridge Village UT at Gmail to join on our teams and help us locate owners, help us avoid these huge foreclosure costs. We're grateful that we've been able to find a reputable and really collaborative law firm working with us to do this process. But truthfully, we'd like to pay them as little as we possibly can and be able to return as much funding to you as we possibly can.
In answer to the question, can it be grandkids? Yeah, I think.
That's family member.
Yep, family members. That works out just fine.
And are the 522 owners listed the number of total weeks to distribute the funds?
At this point, each interval will get a distribution. And again, those distributions are going to be based on our documents that state from your unit and the size of your unit how the funds are distributed. None of this is ad-libbed or anything else.
We're not making it up as we go.
Yeah, this has all been created in the governing documents for the association long ago, and we'll follow those processes. That process, when funds are done, will most likely be done through our attorney and dispensing how we dispense funds, and we'll get there when we get there. But we've obviously had these conversations with our attorney, and we're prepared to do it following all of the Utah Condominium Act statutes and following the advice of our attorney and our governing documents.
Okay, everyone. I think that about wraps us up. Unless we get any more comments in the chat, this will be available so you can watch it later on. Get to our exciting announcements. But yeah, we're in a hurry to get these passes out. November 30th is the day. If you are delinquent and want to come current, November 30th, we have to have your documents back before then.
Or your payment back.
Or your payment back, excuse me. Payment back before then. So let's get to it. And thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for helping us celebrate a win tonight. We're really excited to be able to tell you as a group of owners and to thank all of you as a group of owners for sticking with us and supporting us as we've tried to work through this process. Again, when we looked at it as a board, we knew that if we did not try to do it ourselves, we did not see any path that left any money for the owners at the end of the processes. The fees are so high for managing these types of projects and the management fees that very little, if any, left over at the end of them is what we've seen in other examples.
Even examples that are other timeshares that are near us. Yep.
Yeah. So again, we appreciate all of you as owners sticking with us. Another thing I would say, give us your input. We're glad to hear, hey, we don't think you're doing it right, and listen to you and try to, if we need to make a left turn because we haven't foreseen something, we always want to be in contact with you and listening to you and getting your advice. We appreciate the input and again, appreciate your trust. And hopefully you're sleeping better because we are, knowing that we've completed phase 1 of our goals that we spoke about clear back in July of 24 and that we've spoken about at each town hall.
Hey, one thing before we go, someone just said, Kathy Hillstead probably knows lots of delinquent owners. We failed to mention Kathy and Gary.
I can't believe I have a list, but unfortunately it's still sitting on my desk. Oh.
Kathy and Gary are still working for the resort. Kathy's been helping us all along, and Gary's been up and maintained our buildings and made sure the pool looks great. He's done all sorts of things. So Kathy and Gary, who we all love, Uncle Gary and Aunt Kathy, really continue to work with us, and we just love them and I can't thank them enough.
I can't believe I left them out on the thank you list. I've got this list, but I speak to them
almost daily,
weekly and at times daily. And Kathy has been so generous to offer her help. But you're on the same page we are. Her knowledge and friendships, and she's willing to help us reach out to owners. And they're finishing up their cruise this end of this week, and we'll be on it with them. And again, please come join our team. Please come join us as owners as we're working to make this all happen. And Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to end this. Have a wonderful evening.
56 minutes.
Still under an hour.